What is going on, everybody? AK here from the cover band known as Flyby Radio. Welcome to my very first episode of Cover on Covers. Hope you guys are all in good company as I am here today. We have a special guest, Jana Carey, from the band known as 7th Avenue Saints. Before we get ahead and start with that, let me just briefly talk about what this podcast is about. I, who's in a cover band, bug all my friends and acquaintances who are also in cover bands and pick their brains. Some musicians I see more often than others, yet I still don't know the best parts about them, who they really are off stage and how they got started in this crazy industry. This does one of two things. If you're a musician and know the musician being interviewed, you might find laughter and relation between stories. Two, if you're a follower of the band, you'll learn the ins and outs of how this band runs, and will also bring you laughter if you know them anything like I do. I find myself curious about other musicians and the experiences they have in being in a cover band. With that said, welcome to my first episode of Cover on Covers with AK. Ladies and gentlemen, Jana Carey from 7th Avenue Saints.
Hey guys, what's going on with you today?
Woo-hoo. So, Jana Carey is on my very first episode of Cover on Covers. I'm excited because I'm most comfortable with her because most of you know we've lived together before, which sometimes was scary on her part.
What?
I mean like as in living with me for you. It was scarier.
No.
Big differ. All right, so Miss Jana Carey is from the band 7th Avenue Saints. Let's see, when did you guys start? When did 7th Avenue Saints start?
It's been a couple of years now that we've been working on it. Originally it was probably 2.5 years ago that Brent Cantrell and I started the idea of the band, but getting everybody together and actually getting in one room and putting a name on it and starting a set list and an idea for everything was, about 2 years ago.
Now, when you first started the band, what kind of genre were you guys initially going for, or was it the same genre that you guys do now? Have you guys had to alter some of that a little bit, or?
I don't think we ever settled on a genre of music. Like, we never settled on, are we going to be an 80s band? Are we going to be a 90s band? Are we going to be a rock band or a blues band? It was more of, we just didn't want to do the same 40 songs that every band was doing at every club every night. We wanted to do something
like Flyby
different.
Radio.
Yeah, we wanted to do something different. But yeah, you guys do a lot of different stuff. You don't do the same thing you hear. But we had more of like an eclectic feel because what we did was give each person in the group a chance to go home and write down a list of songs that they wanted to do, that they thought would be great to do, that they don't hear that often. Mm-hmm. And then we pulled from each person's list the ones that we all could agree on. And that's where we started our first set list. And that's the reason it wound up, we referred to it as audio ADD because it was kind of all over the place, but there was a way to string them together in a show where it kind of made a flow. Even though there were different kinds of music, you could pull it together if you put them together in the right order and make kind of a roller coaster for the night of up and down and up and down.
Right.
For energy levels.
I know. I remember when you guys did your first show, and I think 99 Red Balloons was my favorite. And now, like, nobody ever covers that one anymore. And then,
and that version of it too, because it's the Goldfinger version.
Yeah, you know all that too. I was so shocked. I was like, what is going on? Because you know, what is that? What is she speaking?
It's German in the middle.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it. Yeah. I don't know any really much about that band, so just
like if you heard the original version by Nina, then that's more along those lines. But we did the Goldfinger version because we liked all the stops and the little more of a heavier, funkier feel to it.
Uh-huh.
So it kind of fit with the people in the group better. And it was a lot of fun trying to learn those stops and get them just right. That was another thing that we all wanted, was to challenge ourselves in the kind of music that we were playing, not just kind of get together and do the songs that we all would think would be the easiest for us to get together the fastest. That's the reason it took us a while to get everything together and out there. We wanted to do stuff that would challenge each of us to push a little further about what we were able to do on stage. Like, there's no way we can do that song. Well, we're going to try.
That's awesome. How long did it, because Hailstorm was another favorite of mine. That's a hard one.
Which one? We do Hailstorm, more? Miss the Misery. Well, we do her original song, Miss the Misery, and then we do the Hailstorm version of Lady Gaga's Bad Romance.
Ah, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one. Because like I said, was it your first show? Oh God, I went to one of them. And then I remember when you did Hailstorm, Miss the Misery, and that was just, like, my eyes lit up. It's like, I cannot do that. I cannot imagine hitting those notes. Ugh. I love that one.
It's a screamer. I do like to get that one out of the way kind of early in the night so that I still have the voice left to do it. Because if I try to do that one later in the evening,
it's just not
I might not quite have the grit left to get that one out.
That's awesome. So,
it sounds weird to say that that's a warm-up song, but that's more of a warm-up song so that I can get the grit rolling for the rest of them for the evening.
I hear you. Very cool. And now, okay, so I got a question for you. Because I know when I lived with you, anytime we went out, everybody always asked you to sing Me and Bobby McGee.
Yes.
Do you guys do that one?
No, we don't.
Is that based off of just because it's not really a really kick song, or is it just because, like, you're tired of singing it?
No, I love to sing it. I'll sing it anytime we go to an open mic, or if we're at a gig and somebody comes up and requests it and they really want to hear it, I'll sing Bobby McGee all day long. I don't care. I love that song. It's just that for what we were doing, it fit in that category of songs that everybody wants to see a lot of times a gritty female singer do. So we kind of wanted to lean away from the expected and go toward the unexpected. So it is on an acoustic set list for me, or anytime I go to, an open mic and somebody knows how to play it. We didn't steer away from it for any other reason than it's just kind of on that list of songs that get done a lot. Mm-hmm. And so, but I love the song, and I've done it for a long time, and I don't ever get tired of doing it.
Because you definitely have the voice for it. You have that bluesy, raspy voice. And so I just say that because you've been singing for so long, and I just know for a fact that every time, like I said, we went out, that was a song that somebody either requested, or that, you're like, okay, well, everybody knows this song, so let's do this song. Plus you have the voice for it. But sometimes when people ask me to sing certain songs, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good song, and yeah, I got the voice for it, but you know how many times I've sang that song and I don't really feel like singing that song right now?
Yeah,
so that's just why I asked.
And at that point, it's still a lot of times I'm just thinking, they want to hear it. If I know how to do it, I don't really have a gripe with doing it. And that song especially is one of my favorites anyway. I get a kick out of doing it. I enjoy singing that song. But I think between hearing my kind of grit in my voice on a song or two, and then they see the long hair and they immediately go to the Janice recognition and want to know, can you do that song?
Right.
And it is a song that a lot of times female singers are going to do at open mics, at karaoke. If they do gigs and they sing and they're at all gritty, they're going to do that song.
Right.
So it's just an easy go-to for somebody to ask you to do.
Very true.
Well, I don't ever get tired of that one.
Well, that's good. What's another favorite one for you to sing?
I'm the only one.
Oh,
Melissa
that's
F.
a good one.
And that's another one that I get asked a lot, and I don't get
I've
tired
never
of. It
heard you
doesn't
sing
always
that,
fit.
though.
Yeah, you have. Sure you have.
Maybe when you were in the shower, but I've never heard you sing it, like, out.
No, I've done it. I've done it at open mics, I'm sure.
Oh.
And it was in the it's in the set list with 7th Avenue, even though it's one that would be considered sort of a regular. Tim was always like, "No, we have to do that song. We just have to." He's like, "You have to let Jana do that one."
Oh, I loved him.
That
so
was
sweet.
fun because I like the songs that I feel. Like, I like songs that are fun to do, but I like the songs that I feel them when I sing them, because I spent so much of the time, like, I learned to sing in church, so you're supposed to feel what you're singing. And then I spent a lot of time singing blues in New Orleans, which, if you don't feel it, there's no point in singing it.
Yeah.
So the songs that I really enjoy the most are the ones that I feel like I'm conveying to people when I sing them, rather than just remembering the words and the notes.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So bringing that into, I'm glad you brought up the New Orleans and learning in the church. Tell me a little bit about where you grew up, how you got into music, what triggered that for you.
Oh, well, I mean, it's hard to say, like, where I would say I was from, except for Alabama, because my dad was a minister and we moved a lot, so I never really had what I would say is a hometown. My family is all from Summerton, Alabama, but we moved a lot as a kid, because Dad would go from, we'd move from a church to a different church. And so I didn't have any place that I would consider a hometown to me. But I got into music in church because, that was for me, that was the most fun part of church, was the beginning of the service when they had the worship service and everybody got up and sang. And, because we were a Pentecostal church, that we really got into the music. And there was a lady, I remember at one church that we were at for quite a time, and she sang very loudly in the choir, but she didn't always sing like right on key.
Oh, yeah.
And I was a little kid, and I would stand next to her, and I would try to sing louder than her. I don't know if I thought I was trying to help her or what, because I was a little kid. But I started singing in church at like 7. They set me up on a piano stool so they could see me in the choir sing while the piano player would play.
How cute.
And my mom sang in church. My mom has a beautiful voice, and she sang in church all the time. And so I always wanted to do what my mom was doing. I mean, she got up and had this gorgeous voice, and she sang, and people would cry. And I wanted to do that.
Oh. And I know your mama, too. She's so sweet.
When she was 16, there's a TV show that used to play in Alabama called the Country Boy Eddie Show. And it would be a lot of local talent would be on there. And when she was 16, she got up and sang on the Country Boy Eddie Show. And she wanted to be the next Loretta Lynn.
I did not know that about your mother.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
It runs in the family.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So then how did you go from that to New Orleans?
Oh, well, I mean, Pentecostal music's kind of got a little feel to it. And
did your parents live down there, or was it?
No. When I went to college for music, I joined, I was in the jazz band I played keyboard and I sang as the only singer in the jazz band. And I sang in the concert choir and the jazz choir and all that. And a lot of times those groups get to go on trips to cities to do different kind of concerts or to go see other people play or whatever for educational purposes. And I wound up going on a lot of trips. I went to like, Daytona Beach with bands and down to Panama City and then to New Orleans, New York. And New Orleans was the one that really caught me.
Mm-hmm.
So we went down there on 2 different trips, kind of back to back. I basically got off of one bus with my laundry and got right on the next bus and went right back to New Orleans with 2 different groups. And then when I got back, I decided I wanted to stay. And I was almost done with college. So as soon as I graduated, we went back to New Orleans. Me and a friend of mine from college just went down there. Decided we were going to go stay.
That's
and
awesome.
That's how I got hooked. Went down there with a group in college and saw the live music happening everywhere you turn. Like the minute you get off the bus, you hear it all day, every day, all night, anywhere you go. So there was no turning back.
Awesome. So then did you get singing gigs as soon as you moved there, or did it take some time?
We actually did, what you would expect 2 young people to do, that went in over our heads and ran out of our money too soon and wound up coming back to Alabama for a little while and then regrouping and going back. And then at that point, I had made a couple of friends down there who was a guitar player and a drummer. And so when I went back, we walked right into gigs at that point because I had a couple of people able to show me, some doors to open. So when I went back that time, I was a little more settled on knowing what I was doing. But yeah, we pretty much got out of a cab, walked into a bar and set our equipment up and began playing.
Nice. And then how long did you live there for until you came back to Alabama?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. And in the French Quarter the whole time. We stayed right in the quarter.
Jeez.
There's really not a reason to leave unless you just want to. Right. Except for during Mardi Gras, at which point I just didn't want to be there.
You just avoided it at all costs.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I wish, what stinks is, I know so many hilarious stories that you've told me they vary from Alabama to New Orleans. Y'all, if you ever get a chance to know Jana Carey the way I know Jana Carey, you got to ask her these hilarious stories, or just feed her some tequila and let her just unleash the Kraken because they're hilarious. This one's appropriate. The time you were at a bar, and some guy said, "Don't quit your day job."
Oh, yeah.
And then the bartenders kicked him out.
Yeah,
and they were like, "Well, little do you know."
Understand. You don't understand. This is her side gig. She's waiting tables on the side. Yeah. Yeah, I think one of my favorite stories from New Orleans. We used to play at a place called Checkpoint Charlie's. Now, I haven't been back since before Katrina, and I haven't kept track of it, and honestly, because I'm afraid of it being different from what I remember it, and I have such wonderful memories of it.
Mm-hmm.
But we played at a place called Checkpoint Charlie's, and it was kind of it was a local hangout. Most of the local musicians were there. You kind of felt like you were family there, not so much tourists. The tourists come in there too, but it was a home type place to me. You go in there, they've got the pool tables, they've got the bar, they serve food, they've got washing and drying machines in the back, and in between there's a place for you to you can leave a book and take a book. There's a little library, all kind of stuff. It's just a cool spot. And our band played there pretty regular, and we played blues covers, just old blues, with what we called it blues with a kick, with a rock kick to it. And we'd get wild in there. We'd be there till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was nothing to walk across the tops of the tables or the bar. Jeez. And just be a little crazy and have a good time. And we were playing there one night, and it was just the vibe that was happening between the band and the bar, the echo back from your energy to the people in the bar, and it's echoing back to you, and it's making a feedback loop. It's going round and round between you and them, and it's just getting more and more and better and better.
Yeah.
So at the end of the song, we felt so good, and I turned my back to the audience, and I looked at the guys in the band. I said, now I feel like I had church. Now, if you're not Southern, you don't get the difference between church and church. Because church is when you go and you stand and you sing out the hymnal, but church is when you go in and you feel the Spirit. So I had turned around and said to the guys, I feel like I've had church. Can I get an amen? And from behind me, there's this group yell of amen from the bar.
Oh, bless.
And I'm still looking at the band, and the band all gives me their eyes all get big, and my eyes get big. Like, did that just happen?
Oh,
and
man.
I turn back around, and the whole bar is just like, they're in hands up in there. They're ready to go. Do it again. I was like,
did you not realize you said it in the microphone?
No, I knew I did, but I wasn't expecting the whole bar to say amen. So,
oh man,
I said, no, I feel like I done had church. Let's get an amen. And everybody said amen. I was like, well, alrighty then, let's do this.
That is awesome. Since then, have you used that line at a show?
I don't know, because I didn't know I was going to say it when I said it then. It just kind of happened. And
oh man,
I think if I said it again and it didn't happen that way again, it would be such a letdown. I probably.
Good point. That's awesome. That is incredible. All right, so
it's a thing to say that I got an entire bar of drunks in New Orleans to yell amen for me. So yeah,
that doesn't happen too often, I'm sure.
I don't know. It might. It's New Orleans, but it only happened to me once. So.
Okay, so when you're on your way to a show, what kind of music do you listen to? Or do you listen to any at all? Because sometimes I have nights where I'm just like, okay, no music. Not until we get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I have those nights where I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear any talking, any radio, any music. And then it just depends. Some nights, if I'm learning new music for the show, I may play the songs that I'm most concerned about my lyrics, to kind of get them stuck in my head. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm so burnt out on working on the music for a particular gig and I don't want to ever hear the song again, I'll listen to something that I find relaxing. And a lot of times for me, that is going to be some old blues, or I like Grateful Dead, and I like Steely Dan. So it's like some really relaxing, mellow, old school stuff, or probably nothing at all. Yeah. Unless I'm listening to the lyrics for a particular song.
Then yeah, I gotcha. I thought it was funny. I remember one time your bass player, no, not your bass player, your guitar player, Brent Cantrell. You guys were getting ready to do a show. It was at Voodoo's, aka Iron Horse,
yeah,
when it was still open. And Brent's sitting back there and he's listening to his music. And what was it? Bobby's mom went back there and was like, "What y'all rock stars listening to?" And he put the headphone to her ear, and it was like Lady Gaga Poker Face or something like that. She goes,
no,
that wasn't what I was expecting.
Lady Gaga.
I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, he totally loves some Lady Gaga.
Is that my Binks?
It is your Binks. She's talking. She hears you, so she wants to talk to you.
Oh, man. I miss those animals. Also, anybody who knows Jana Carey knows that she has 500 cats and 1 million dogs and tons of fish, lizards and geckos.
Just a few. Just a few.
Just a few. It used to look like a zoo in her bedroom. In the most fun way possible.
Yeah, you said that until you had to feed them when I was in the hospital,
That
and you
freaked
didn't
me
realize
out.
that
That salamander
you didn't
freaked
realize
me
the
out.
one was going to jump at you when you put the food in there.
No. Well, I mean, you think a salamander is, just chill and calm, cool and collective. As soon as I got that cricket in there, he jumped at my hand.
Because they live to eat, and as far as they're concerned, if they can fit you in their mouth, you're food.
And I was like, oh, he's so cute. Until he did that. Freaked me out.
And he's still smiling at you when he did it.
Yeah. I remember I thought he was dead. Because I'd never owned a lizard before or anything like reptile. And like, he just looked dead. And you're like, just put some water on him. He's okay. I was like, I killed her. I killed her animals.
No, they don't move a lot. They don't move a lot. They kind of conserve that energy for when it's time to eat.
See, now, you know what you need to do? You need to start a podcast that talks about animals.
Oh, no.
Because you're like the smartest person. Well, you're the smartest person on a lot of levels. But like when it comes to animals, you know everything. I mean.
No, I don't.
But you do, though. You say you don't, but naturally you do. You probably have never even looked up a certain answer to a certain question, but instantly, just instinctively, you know exactly how to respond about any animal and how to care for it.
I look up a lot of stuff. That's just that's the problem is if you get it in your head that you want to get an animal, you need to do the research first. And because I did a lot of work in the stores with pets and stuff, and we got in strange critters all the time, I would always be the one who would look up, what do we got to do for this new animal we got coming in? Because, stores will sometimes order animals in, and they don't necessarily have the setup for it, and you got to figure out how to make sure that he can eat and drink appropriately, because there's never any telling what kind of weirdness happens with a critter.
I could, bless you for doing it. Like snakes, I couldn't, no. No.
Snakes are great. Snakes are no problem.
No.
Hamsters, however, snakes I never had an issue with in the store. You can pick the snake up, you're cool. They rarely ever would bite you. Hamsters will bite you every time.
Well, because, I can imagine, because they're constantly in a different environment, they don't really have time to adjust. And until they've got hands all over them and, different people around them all the time. At least from
what I know.
Well,
they're tiny, and their only real response is to bite, and they're prey, so they expect everything coming after them to be predators. Whereas snakes are generally predators. I don't know if they just don't bite as much, or the ones that we had were raised well, but snakes never really. I got bit by one or two snakes, but I got bit by every hamster.
Yeah, getting bit by one would do it to where I wouldn't go near another one.
The snakes or the hamsters?
Both.
The hamsters would surely do it, because that hurts for like a couple of weeks when they bite you. But the snakes, they usually barely even scratch the skin. You barely, they don't have a big, huge bite to them because they're not venomous. They kind of barely scratch the skin.
Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, reptiles and animals with Jana Carey. That needs to be a thing.
Yeah.
It needs to be a thing. We need to get back on topic. Okay, so we're almost done. I won't keep you a whole bunch longer, but quick question with the 7th Avenue Sins. Where did the inspiration come from for that name? Where does that even come from?
Well, that was another thing that we did pretty much the same way that we did the set list. We sort of crowdsourced it, brainstormed it amongst us as a group. We had sat down with a bunch of us, and we were sitting in the practice space talking about, okay, guys, it's time to come up with a name. And everybody threw out some ideas, and nobody really felt comfortable with all the ideas. And we did pretty much the same thing we did with the songs, where we said, okay, so everybody pick some words and some ideas that you like and make a list of them. So everybody sits down with a pen and paper and makes a list of words and they think would be cool put together. And then we actually just started kind of moving the words around together from list to list, putting the list together and going, okay, this word from this list and that one and that one. No. What about if we rearrange them? No. And we kind of wanted it to have a cadence to it, you know, so that it would roll off the tongue easy. And it just, it wound up, at first it was like Ninth Street or something. I don't know. It finally found its way over to 7th Avenue Saints. And that was one of like 3 of them that we had on the final list that we kept on. And Tim just kept saying, no, that one really, I like that one. And we did. We stuck with that group of words. It was basically just putting groups of words together until we found something we liked. So it didn't have a inspiration of any kind of major story that you'd be like, oh, yeah, so we were on the 7th Avenue. And this guy, you know, in a priest robe comes by. Nothing crazy that we could actually attribute it to.
You can always make one up.
I was going to say, if you wanted to have somebody make up a really good story for it, then you should podcast with Brent, because I'm sure he can come up with a good one. Oh, my
gosh. Yeah, that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure he can come up with
I'm coming after you.
A great fake story about how we come up with the 7th Avenue Saints. And it would sound a lot better
it would be so elaborate and so believing, too.
You'd believe it. Oh, yeah, you'd believe every bit of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bless it. That's awesome. Well, 7th Avenue Saints, it definitely fits you. I mean, I look at, you know, you and even with Daryl and Brent Cantrell, the name suits all of you. Even if you don't have a backstory to it. I mean, you just look at all y'all and the music you guys got going on. It's like, yeah, that's awesome. And then you have that tag.
Revolution Calls for Saints.
Exactly. I thought that was awesome when I first saw that.
It was Revolution Calls for Saints and all heathens are welcome.
Yes. I love it. And that's why, like, you guys should just write your own stuff. I mean, do covers,
yeah,
but that's like
told that a few times.
Oh.
And I'm sure amongst the people that we have that it's doable.
Oh, totally.
Just, you know,
these
guys, everybody's so busy doing as much as they're doing now that it's difficult to sit down together and be able to create something together. That takes time to sit down and do that stuff, you know, because you sit down and you wrote a bunch of songs and you had to collaborate with somebody, and it took a while to collaborate with a couple of people over time, getting together everybody's schedules together in one room to be able to do that.
Right. Well, and then
I think the reason that the 7th Avenue Saints fits us is because we just made it a thing of our own. We didn't go in with an idea of it being anything in particular. We just kind of did what was us and made it work.
Right. Yeah, it totally suits you guys. It's a great name. With that, you're also in 2 other groups. Am I correct on that currently?
Yeah. I sing with a few other groups. Yeah.
Just so listeners can kind of if anybody listens to this, just kidding. So they can go and see where they can come and see you the closest, or with whatever style.
I have a page set up called Jana 7AS, the short for 7th Avenue Saints. But I list all the shows on that page that I do. It's basically a place for me to just list any events that I'm going to be singing at, whether it's 7th Avenue Saints. I go sing with a group called 3.0, which is some guys from a band I was in several years ago called Riding Dirty. They regrouped in a different situation, and they're called 3.0 now. And I go sing. They have several singers in the band, so they can play gigs whether I'm there or not.
Yeah.
But I go sing with them sometimes. And then there's another group called Bandango that recently started and just getting off their feet. And we've done a few shows. I always try to list them all on that page so that it's easy to keep track of whichever shows are coming out. There's another group that I've been working with called Blue Collar Vinyl, and we haven't been out yet. It's just still in the works, but it's mostly like what you would expect from the name Blue Collar Vinyl.
I was gonna say that sounds really good.
Yeah, it's it's like your Led Zeppelin and some Black Crows, and it's Faces. It's a lot of the older blue collar vinyl sounding. It's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. That's cool. Okay, well, awesome. Okay, so I have on the website Cover on Covers. I have 7th Avenue Saints for the Facebook page tagged in there. I'll definitely tag Jana7AS so that people can go ahead and check out wherever you're at that's closest to them, or want to come and see you, come and hang out, get to know all the lovely stories of Jana Carey with some tequila.
Oh, no. No,
maybe
can't
those
tell
are
all
just for
stories.
special people.
We'll just we'll let them sit down and listen to Brent tell a few stories at the 7th Avenue shows.
Yeah, he's
How's
pretty
that?
good at that. He's good at that.
He's the bard, not me. He's the bard.
Yeah, however, but when he tells me stories, though, I always get looks from you. So I never, but they're like, sometimes their looks like, yeah, that happened. Or their looks like, that's not how I remember it happening. So
some of those looks may be that he shouldn't be telling this story look. So.
Oh, but those are the great ones, though. Oh, they're so good. I mean, so these stories, people, I'm telling you, are like things that have happened to Jana that you don't believe happen in life.
Yeah.
They're just so out there and crazy, but I love it. Okay, so Jana Carey from 7th Avenue Saints, thanks for hanging out with me today and being on the first podcast of Cover on Covers. I hope it wasn't too bad for you.
No, thoroughly enjoyed it. Glad to be here. Looking forward to hearing some more of these podcasts coming out from you and seeing this pick up and run for you. So, yeah. Pulling some more. Unfortunately, you started with me, so I don't know how good that's going to help you, but there you go.
Unfortunately, whatever. All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I hope y'all enjoy listening to it. Till the next.
Thanks, guys.